Yo, it's Yerk, and today I'm bringing you a step-by-step tutorial on how to make a working reboot van in Fortnite Creative. By the end of this tutorial, you'll be able to make a working reboot van in your own creative maps. This reboot van system has all the core mechanics of the reboot vans in Battle Royale and even has a working reboot card system. Speaking of core mechanics, that's a perfect segue to our sponsor. Core is the new free game creation platform that lets you create your own games with no coding experience required. Core eliminates all the barriers preventing anyone from making, publishing, and playing games. Core is a great way to start making games. Simply drag and drop thousands of free high-quality music, sound, and art assets to bring your creativity into a real game. Core allows you to get all the power of Unreal Engine, whether you're a beginner or a veteran. With their one-click publishing, you can build games from scratch or remix and reimagine content shared by other creators. And when you're ready to publish, your game will go live instantly on the Core platform with the click of a button. That's right, no support or creator code needed. Publishing games has never been so easy, and it's completely free. You can get Core now by clicking the link in the top of the description. But now let's get to this tutorial. Okay guys, so you can use whatever vehicle you want to act as the reboot van, but for this tutorial, I'm going to be using the battle bus. Again, you can use whatever you want, and if you don't have the battle bus prop, then you can use this battle bus prop from the spooky props gallery. But now that that's out of the way, let's head to the devices tab. First, we're going to grab an elimination manager, and then next we need to grab a timed objective device. Then we're going to grab a capture area, and then we're ready to get started. Place down the elimination manager, and then we're going to open up the settings and we're going to head to the consumables category. We want to grab a jewel and then drop that into our elimination manager, and then we're going to open up the settings. Head to the bottom, and now we want to set when eliminated transmit on channel to channel 99. Then we're going to go up and we're going to make sure that we have spawn on self-elimination turned on. Then we're just going to click OK, and now we need to pull up the timed objective device. Open up the settings and we want to set it to 1 second. And for the timer label text, we want to type in reboot. Now we're going to set hologram until activated to no, and we also want to set the countdown visible on HUD to no. Then we can turn urgency mode off, and for the start interact text, we also want to type in reboot. Next, we want to change the start interact time to 5 seconds. I like to turn off timer sound as well. Then scrolling to the bottom, we're going to set enable when receiving from channel 98 and disable when receiving from channel 21. And lastly, we need to set when complete transmit on channel to channel 100. Next, pull up the capture area and start by dropping in a jewel just like we did for the elimination manager. Then we're going to open up the settings and we want to set the capture radius to 1 tile. Scroll down and set the periodic score value to 0, and just below that we want to set can be captured by team to all. Scroll all the way down to the bottom now and change when item consumed transmit on channel 98 and click OK. Now pick up your capture area and head over to your respawn van. You want to place the capture area underneath the reboot van just enough so that the top of the circle is sticking through the ground just a little bit, like you can see me doing in the video. Then we're going to take the timed objective device and we're going to resize it using the resize axis all. We want to make it as big as possible. Then we're going to take the objective device and place it down inside of our reboot van just like I'm doing. Then place down a class designer. Then we want to open the menu and grab a green pistol and drop it in, and then open up the settings, and all we need to do for this one is just set this to class identifier 1 and click OK. Now we can get started setting up the devices needed for each team. Open up the creative menu and head to the devices tab. We want to grab a class selector, player spawn pads, an attribute trigger, a regular trigger, a damage volume, and a teleporter. So first we're going to set up our initial spawn pads where you want the players to start when the game very first begins. Open up the settings and we need to set this to team 1. And when player spawns, transmit on channel 21. Then we're also going to set it to disable when receiving from channel 21. Then click OK, and now you can go over and place down your team 2 spawn pad. Open up the settings and set it to team 2, then change disable when receiving from channel to channel 22, and when player spawn, transmit on channel 22. For the sake of time, I'm just going to be showing you guys how to do the first 2 teams, but this will work for any number of teams. Next, go over and set down spawn pads. These spawn pads are going to be where players are waiting to be rebooted after they get eliminated. Set the first spawn pad down and set it to team 1. Then we need to turn enabled during phase to none, and then go down and set enable when receiving from channel 21 and click OK. Then set up the second spawn pad and set it to team 2. Enable during phase to none, and enable when receiving from channel 22, and repeat this for all teams you want in your map. Now we're going to open up the indestructible gallery, and we're going to grab an indestructible wall and an indestructible floor, and we're going to box in the spawn pad using those indestructible pieces. Then we're going to place down a class selector and open up the settings. Change the class to switch to option to class 1, set time to switch to instant, and then set the size of the volume to 5 meters. Then you're going to set enable during phase to none, and put enable when receiving from channel to channel 1. Then set disable when receiving from to channel 11, and lastly, when class switch to transmit on channel 11. Copy the class selector and head over to Team 2 spawn box. Place it down, open up the settings, and all we're going to change is we're going to add 1 to all of the channel settings, so enable when receiving from channel 2, disable when receiving from channel 12, and when class switch to transmit on channel 12. Then you're going to do this for all the rest of your teams. Then head back to Team 1 spawn box and go inside, and we're going to place down a damage volume on the ceiling. Open up the settings and set enabled on game start to no, and then we want to set enable when receiving from channel to channel 41, and then click OK. Then you can head over to the next team spawn box, do the same thing, except this time we're just going to set it to enable when receiving from channel 42, and do that for the rest of your teams, just setting it to enable when receiving from 40, whatever team number you're on. Next, we're going to pull up a trigger, and we're going to place it down outside of the first team spawn box. Open up the settings and set it to activating team 1, turn triggered by player off, and then scroll down and set it to transmit every 2 triggers. Scroll down to the bottom, and we want to set reset times triggered when receiving from channel 11, trigger when receiving from channel 31, and when triggered transmit on channel 41. Copy it and head over to Team 2 and place it down. Open up the settings and just change the activating team to Team 2, and change the reset times triggered when receiving from channel to channel 12. Then change trigger when receiving from channel to channel 32, and when triggered, transmit on channel 42. As you can see, you're just going to add 1 to each of these settings so that way the last number matches the team you're on. Then once you've done all that, you're going to head back to Team 1 and place down an attribute trigger. Open up the settings and set it to check for team 1. Scroll down and make sure enable that game start is set to disabled. And then we want to set it to enable when receiving from channel 31. Also, we need to set it to disable when receiving from channel 11. And then we need to set listen to channel 100. And if all checks are valid, transmit on channel 1. Okay, copy the attribute trigger and head to Team 2's box. Place it down, open up the settings and change it to check for Team 2, then add 1 to the enable when receiving from, disable when receiving from, and if all checks are valid, transmit on channel so that way that they all end in 2. Do this for all of your teams and then head back to Team 1 and place down another attribute trigger. Open up the settings and set check for team to Team 1, scroll to the bottom and set listen to channel 99. If all checks are valid, transmit on channel 31 and click OK. Copy the attribute trigger, head down to Team 2 and place it down. Open up the settings and all we're going to change is check for Team 2, and if all checks are valid, transmit on channel 32. Click OK and do this for all of your teams. Now lastly, we're going to pull up our teleporter, open up the settings, set teleporter group and teleporter target group to none, make the teleport rift invisible, and then set teleport to when receiving from channel 11. Then click OK and copy it and move on down to the next team's box. Place it down, open it up, and just change it to teleport to when receiving from channel 12. And again, do this all the way down the line for all of your teams. Then you're going to take the teleporters, and I like to shrink them down using the all axis, and place them on top of your reboot van. Now the very last thing that you need to do is open up your island settings and head to the Games tab. We need to set spawn limit to 2, and now it's time to test it out. Go ahead and start the game, and now when your teammate dies, they will respawn inside of the reboot box, and they will drop a jewel wherever they die. The jewel is their reboot card, so as you can see, if you walk up to the van and try and reboot them, it won't work because you don't have their card. But if you pick up the jewel and take it to the reboot van, now you can reboot them, and once you reboot them, they will spawn in on top of the reboot van and they will have a pistol. But if you die and you're waiting to be rebooted and your teammate dies before he was able to reboot you, then you will be eliminated as well and your team will be out, just like the real reboot vans in Battle Royale. And that's how you make a reboot van in Fortnite Creative. Don't forget to check out the sponsor core by clicking the link in the top of the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, don't forget to drop a like, hit subscribe, do whatever you want to do and all that stuff. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and if you want, feel free to check out some of my other videos that are on screen now. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, stay up.